innocent man, Your Honor, and I have always been an innocent man, Your Honor.
The ominous saga begins in Michigan, where the Berrien County Courthouse transforms into a crime scene. Larry Darnell Gordon, a 44-year-old from Coloma, Michigan, becomes the epicenter of a shocking incident that unfolded Monday. The initial shockwave reverberates from Gordon's heinous past, as authorities reveal that he faced a life imprisonment for the ghastly charges of kidnapping, drugging, and raping a 17-year-old girl. As Gordon is escorted to a hearing, the unimaginable occurs, setting the stage for a harrowing sequence of events. In a chilling turn of events, the routine escort of Gordon takes a nightmarish turn. Seizing the opportunity during the escort, Gordon grabs a gun from a sheriff's deputy, initiating a tragic series of events. Two bailiffs pay the ultimate price, losing their lives as Gordon's rampage unfolds. The courthouse, usually a symbol of justice, becomes a chaotic crime scene as law enforcement rushes to contain the threat. Gordon's attempt to take hostages adds a layer of terror to the unfolding narrative. As law enforcement converges on the scene, Gordon's deadly spree is cut short. Other officers intervene, fatally shooting Gordon. The aftermath reveals the toll of the violence, with 2 veteran bailiffs slain, including the courthouse's head of security. The collateral damage extends to a sheriff's deputy, James Atterbury Jr., and a civilian, both wounded in the arm but reportedly stable. Amid the confusion, Sheriff Paul Bailey corrects earlier statements about Gordon's restraint, confirming that Gordon was indeed handcuffed in front, dispelling initial misconceptions. Berrien County Prosecutor Michael Sepik steps into the narrative, shedding light on the court proceedings that led to this tragedy. Gordon's court appearance was not far from a routine charge, but aimed at dismissing a misdemeanor domestic violence charge. The shocking twist unfolds as Gordon seeks to replace this minor charge with a litany of 17 felony counts related to the horrific case of the kidnapped teenager. The charges include first-degree criminal sexual conduct, kidnapping, and other grievous crimes, laying bare the extent of Gordon's malevolence. The narrative takes a step back to delve into the roots of Gordon's descent into criminality. Sepik reveals the alarming charges, including the production of child sexually abusive material, possession with intent to deliver methamphetamine, unlawful imprisonment, assault by strangulation, and assault with a dangerous weapon. The severity of these charges is underscored by the revelation that 6 of them carry maximum sentences of life in prison. Coloma Township Police's involvement further adds context. Dispatched to Gordon's home on April 20th for the initial misdemeanor domestic violence warrant, where he shared a residence with his ex-wife.
315 Judge Lasada. Did you witness anything, Jake?
Anybody hurt? Is there anybody hurt?
3 to 4 gunshots.
3 to 4 gunshots?
We had no indications that he has been violent. He hasn't been in our jail.
Introducing Aubrey Trail, a 52-year-old Nebraska man facing charges for the horrifying crime of killing and dismembering a woman he connected with on a dating app. Sydney Loof, a store clerk, vanished in November 2017 after a date with Bailey Boswell, Trail's girlfriend at the time of the disappearance. Tragically, Loof's decomposing remains were discovered in trash bags in an isolated area a month later. Throughout the trial, the prosecution argued that Trail and Boswell had meticulously planned the crime for a number of weeks, using social media to set up the deadly encounter. The prosecution's store receipts and video evidence show the couple purchasing bleach, saws, and trash bags shortly before Loof's disappearance. As emotions soared and the courtroom tension peaked, Trail's attorney asserted that Loof's death was accidental, arguing that it had been the result of a consensual encounter.
Sex involved. There was strangulation involved. It was not supposed to go as far as it did, but it did.
Trail, on the other hand, had this to say in his shocking, controversial final statement to Loof's family.
I do not deny, however, that I premeditated Sydney's murder. The only difference is it was 2 or 3 hours after she got to the apartment that I decided to kill her.
However, a dramatic turn came when, after a witness testified, Trail, appearing to no longer restrain his emotions, erupted in a sudden and intense outburst. Bailiffs rushed to the scene as he collapsed from his wheelchair, plunging the courtroom into chaos. He was promptly rushed to the hospital for treatment. Fortunately, Trail's injuries were later reported as non-life-threatening, and he made a full recovery, appearing in court 20 days later. Trail's defense team suggested he had harmed himself using a sharp object, but assured the court that his injuries were minor. The judge ordered Trail to be handcuffed for the remainder of the trial. Trail sits emotionless as he receives his sentence.
Murder in the first degree, a Class 1 felony. The defendant is sentenced to death.
This is the cold, callous story of Scott Nelson, a man sentenced to death for the murder of Jennifer Fulford, a much-loved nanny from Florida. Nelson was sentenced to death for the kidnapping and murder of Fulford, found in the woods, tied up and assaulted. During trial, Nelson took the witness stand and delivered a shocking testimony with zero remorse. It was only 4 months prior, Nelson was released on parole for armed robbery. He claimed he was getting his life together, but after losing his job, his place to stay, and ultimately his will to live within the bounds of society. Captured on CCTV footage, Nelson buying supplies from a hardware store, the first step in his plan to make society pay for his mistreatment. His actions so callous, his account of the night, that he went out to eat a pizza after his crime. He didn't hold back, detailing his use of duct tape. He claimed his intentions weren't to kill. He labeled his actions as collateral damage. During his time on the witness stand, he showed no remorse for his actions. He attempted to convince the court that he was the victim of this ordeal. He was mistreated in prison, and the state is at fault. He made claims that he has been beaten, raped, and had cockroaches roaming over his body. During his cold, callous 5-star performance, he could no longer contain his emotion, and after several outbursts towards the judge. He was on his last legs, the judge not buying any of it, the jury convicting him of first-degree murder.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder with a weapon as charged in the indictment.
Meet John Bunn, a man who endured 27 years of wrongful conviction for murder.
I'm an innocent man, Your Honor, and I have always been an innocent man, Your Honor.
Hailing from Brooklyn, New York, Bunn was a mere 14 years old when he was arrested by NYPD detective Louis Scarcella. For 16 long years, he found himself behind bars, followed by another 11 years on parole, where he relentlessly battled to prove his innocence. Finally, a turning point came when his conviction was overturned, exposing Scarcella's misconduct and highlighting the lack of probable cause for Bunn's initial arrest. After an arduous 27-year struggle to clear his name, he was ultimately exonerated, but the story doesn't end there. Before leaving the courtroom, Bunn shared a poignant moment with the judge. Driven by a quest for justice, Bunn went on to file a lawsuit against the city of New York and Detective Scarcella.
We further find this offense is a dangerous felony because the offense involves the discharge, use, or threatening exhibition of fire, a deadly weapon, or dangerous instrument.
The scene shifts to Arizona, where the story takes a tragic turn with Michael Marin's suicide. The former Wall Street trader's dramatic act occurs in a Phoenix courtroom moments after being convicted of arson. Marin's use of cyanide, caught on video, unfolds a shocking and unexpected event, leaving the courtroom in disbelief. The narrative delves into Marin's background, detailing his once successful career and personal challenges that led to his downward spiral. From his financial decline, the arson conviction, to the grim circumstances surrounding his suicide, the story paints a vivid picture of Marin's desperation and the extreme lengths he went to avoid the consequences of his actions.
I'm facing a lecture back then for somebody I have absolutely don't know nothing about, and they frame me.
The narrative opens with a culmination of a high-profile murder case in Florida. Markeith Loyd, convicted of the murder of Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, receives a death sentence from the Ninth Circuit Judge Letitia Marquez. This stark decision comes after a jury's earlier recommendation and over 5 years since Clayton's tragic death in the line of duty. The true crime story delves into Loyd's dark past, starting with his conviction in November for the murder of his ex-girlfriend and her unborn child. The manhunt that ensued saw Loyd on the run, culminating in the fatal shooting of Lieutenant Deborah Clayton outside a Walmart. Loyd's conviction encompasses 5 charges, including first-degree murder of a police officer, shedding light on the gravity of his crimes. The narrative explores Loyd's previous conviction in October 2019 for the murder of his pregnant ex-girlfriend, Sade Dixon. Despite the jury recommending a life sentence in that case, Loyd now faces the death penalty for the murder of Lieutenant Deborah Clayton.
Like, I just went there and shot this girl when there was other guns found on the scene. And all kinds of guns were pulled on me first, but y'all acting like I just went there and shot her. Her little brother got dropped off while me and her was standing there talking.
The stark contrast in sentences raises questions about the complexities of the legal system and the gravity of Loyd's crimes. The aftermath of the sentencing brings a statement from Orlando Police Chief Orlando Rowland. He acknowledges the profound impact of Loyd's heinous actions and expresses hope that the death penalty will provide solace to the community. The chief pays tribute to Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, highlighting her significant contributions to the city of Orlando and her involvement in mentoring programs. Shifting gears, the true crime narrative moves to a horrifying case in Somerville. A babysitter, 23-year-old Erica Mae Butts, is charged with homicide by child abuse after allegedly beating her best friend's 3-year-old child, Serenity Richardson, to death with a belt. The shocking details of the incident, including the supposed motive of the child urinating on the floor, created a stark contrast to the courtroom drama involving Markeith Loyd. The narrative delves into the legal aftermath of Erica Butt's alleged crime. A bond court judge denies her bond, emphasizing the severity of the charges. The child's mother, present at the hearing, witnesses the emotional turmoil as Butts expresses remorse. Details emerging about the suspicious injuries on Serenity's body and the shocking revelation of the full-body blunt force trauma becomes a grim focal point.